at the recording. Did that start? Or maybe it's already going. Oh, it's already going. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm sorry? Hi there. Good to see all of you. Thanks for joining. I see our regional board chair, Vinayak Gupta, is here. Vinayak, welcome. And Yvonne Cook, who's our global advisor for Sacramento, is here. We're going to be talking about Sacramento and California with Barry Broom. I don't see Barry yet, but he'll be joining soon. He's amazing, in terms of his knowledge. He's given a few presentations at Global Chamber over the years, including in the very, very beginning of our life when he had a similar role for the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. So Phoenix, now he's a Northern California and California expert. We had one of my favorite meetings with Barry was we did a Texas versus California conversation. Where should companies land? Where is it best for them? And he duked it out as expertly and professionally as you can. And I think clearly won the conversation, if winning is the appropriate term. I think it's fair to say for businesses that wherever you land, it depends on your business and your own personal preferences. I personally have lived in Texas. I could not live there anymore, I don't think, unless, my grandson moved there, and I don't anticipate that happening. Fortunately, he's in Los Angeles, and so that's working out for me to probably die in California, hopefully later than sooner. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We are headquartered in Phoenix, which is behind me. That's the third annual Global Chamber Semiconductor Summit that happened earlier this year. The fourth annual Semiconductor Summit is February 19th. And so if you have any interest in the Semiconductor Summit, I'm very excited about what's coming together for this one. It's going to be, I think, very special and unique. And so contact me if you're interested to learn more, but definitely jump in. We have a number of different speakers today, and so I don't want to, I'd like to jump in, and probably as soon as Barry jumps in, I'll probably go to him. And so I'll just keep an eye out on that. What we'll do is we'll have start out with a couple of our board chairs just introducing themselves and giving their perspective on what's going on in California. Then we'll be talking with a number of different speakers, Barry being one of them. Gabriel of GoSeco is another, a member in Global Chamber based in San Diego, and has expertise around the talent market, and particularly talent in North America, including Mexico. So thank you, Gabriel, for joining. We'll be hearing from you in a moment. And then one of our really fun, unique members, Mihail Zagallo, is a Thunderbird graduate. He joined once he graduated from Thunderbird, and he had a sustainability and has a sustainability business that I'm sure he'll mention. And then he's more recently going to be talking about some other projects. And so looking forward to that conversation. And then we're going to do a roundtable. So hopefully all of you will be able to speak. We're going to try to do all of that in the next 55 minutes. So hang on to your hat. It's going to be wild. Let's start with Jeff Darr. Jeff is our amazing board chair for Global Chamber Los Angeles. Los Angeles chapter was not doing too very much until Jeff became our board chair. I think we had like 3 people on the advisory board, one of whom was me. So it didn't really kind of count as a really good advisory board. But Jeff, over the last 2 or 3 years, has really stepped it up. And a lot of that is because he does global business. He does business in 35 countries around the world. He does legal work around the world. He's also an expert on arbitration. He is the leader for the California Arbitration Week that's coming up I believe March 10th through 14th, or sometime around the Ides of March. I'm sure that'll be part of what he'll mention here in a moment. Jeff, thank you for all of your leadership with not only Global Chamber, but within the community of Southern California and around the world. What would you like to share to kick things off today, please?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Doug, and good to see everybody. We have a great turnout for today. So real quick, as Doug's already somewhat summarized, we've had a really great year for the Los Angeles, Southern California. We're really Orange County and not sure about San Diego, but we're the region. We've had many events this past year, including many in person, which is fantastic, including a really well-attended in-person holiday gathering just last week. So that's been incredible. We've had a major increase in not only awareness in the international community in Southern California, but members and people attending events. So that part's been fantastic. And, you know, in Southern California, we have partnerships with the international desk of the LA mayor, the Los Angeles port. So we're very connected, and they're actually actively involved. So fantastic. And that's really a collective effort of everyone participating. So thank you, everyone who has joined at one of our many events. And then, as Doug mentioned myself, I'm a lawyer. I've been focusing on international business and disputes for over 25 years, really 30 years now. I work closely with lawyers in over 30 countries, as Doug alluded to. So if you ever need anything internationally, probably I know somebody well. When I say I know people, I know them personally. So I travel, I speak all around the world. I'm also our arbitrator. And then just to touch on, because it's going live in the morning tomorrow, I'm co-chair of what's called California International Arbitration Week. It's March 10 to March 13, 4 days, 24 panels of amazing speakers from around the world. We'll have hundreds of people from all around the world. And while it may sound esoteric, if any of you do international business, there's a treaty since the 1950s by having arbitration as your remedy for resolving any dispute. So if you're doing international business and you worry about people performing or being able to go after somebody and actually make a recovery if they don't pay you, arbitration in the international context is key to your business. And we'll have all the leading tribunals and arbitration providers around the world coming in person. And we'll also have 5 nights of amazing network events. The website and registration should start live tomorrow morning, which is really exciting, with all the programs and opportunities to register for everything I mentioned. And Global Chamber has been a sponsor of California International Arbitration Week since its start 3 years ago. This will be the 4th annual one in March 10 to March 13, 2025. This year it'll be in person in Los Angeles at the W Hotel in West Los Angeles. So I'm sure Doug will share that with everybody shortly. It is an amazing opportunity to really network with people from around the world. And if you do any type of international business, this would have value to you, both just from an awareness point of view and more importantly, from a networking point of view. So I will just say that, and thank you again, everybody, for making this a really stellar year for Global Chamber, Los Angeles, Orange County, whatever we want to call ourselves, since we're really the only metro in the Southern California, as far as I know, that's active.
Thank you, Jeff. We do have several of the board for Los Angeles here, and we have a new member, and that's Freddie Ashby. I wanted to introduce everyone to Freddie because of the leadership that his company, Listo Global, they do HR services, including employer of record work. And as far as I have seen, they're the #1 in terms of capabilities in Latin America. They work across the world, but they are so good across the Americas. Freddie, thank you for your leadership. Do you want to just say a couple words about Listo?
Happy to, Doug. Thank you, and appreciate. We were a part of Global Chamber in a former life before we started Listo Global, and so we've worked with Doug for a lot of years, and now we're appreciative to continue that. But yeah, Listo Global, we like to say we help you find, hire, and pay your global team. So we're paying people in about 90 countries right now and growing, but provide contractor management, employer of record, and global payroll. And then that find component's always important. So we help do all the recruiting as well if needed. And so a lot of complexity, and Jeff would love to connect with you later. And I'm sure we'll be working closely together, but love the global space, love the people we meet and the people we get to bless. So we have a great technology that helps streamline all of that process and the compliance and kind of people management. So it's really kind of an HR tech and fintech. And just next week, we're launching Listo Pay, which is a full digital wallet and all the compliance surrounding the way to pay and be paid. So crypto and mobile payments in a lot of different countries. So really excited what we're doing and really glad to be a part of Global Chamber and all the get to know more of you as we go. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Freddie. We have 4 chapters in California, and actually San Diego was our first chapter. Kuntal Warwick was the executive director. She's now a global advisor for Global Chamber, but she moved to Philadelphia. So that kind of took us a little bit of a path, but we'll get that reset. We actually had one of our most amazing chapter launches in San Diego. So there are members there and some great opportunity for the future, and we'll talk to Gabriel later. Let's shift now to Northern California, and particularly Vinayak Gupta, who's our board chair. Vinayak and I have known each other for many years, predating Global Chamber. He was with a company called Zero Mass Water, which changed its name to Source. One of the coolest, I thought one of the coolest technologies to be able to create water off the grid using solar energy, basically hooked to a swamp cooler. And having lived in Utah, I know all about swamp coolers. I wouldn't want to have to live with a swamp cooler in Arizona, honestly. But Salt Lake, it's possible to have a swamp cooler and make it work, at least for my comfort level. Vinayak built a plant at a Volvo dealership in Scottsdale. And along with that, he's built a battery plant for Tesla. He's got solar energy background. He's amazing. He's a Renaissance guy. And so Vinayak, thank you for all your leadership, and thank you for being our advisory board chair for San Francisco this last year. Would you like to make any comments about either the market conditions or anything going on that you'd like to share?
Lots going on, and thank you, Doug, for the introduction. A very kind introduction is what I would say. I don't deserve any of this. It's the people who make it happen. It's all of us, the community, and the folks who come with the desire and the passion to make this happen. So really appreciate the kind words. I'll pass it on to the teams from that perspective. There's a lot going on in Northern California itself, but first, welcome and hello to Jeff, and welcome and hello to Freddie. I'd say, Jeff, at this point in time, in the world of football, Southern California is kicking Northern California's ass. There's no two ways about it. And, I can't do much about it because I'm a Jim Harbaugh fan also over there. So if any of you follow football, he's been in NorCal and he's been in SoCal. So I wish him all the very best. This year may not be his year and making it too far, but he has done tremendous work over there. But now coming back to the point, lots happening in the world of Northern California. As you all or most of you may know, artificial intelligence is the buzzword at this point in time, and Northern California is front and center, with NVIDIA leading the charge. Sometimes we sit around and joke that NVIDIA is and NVIDIA will continue to laugh all the way to the bank with the stock and going to $3 trillion at this point in time and going forward. So AI is an engine that continues. In fact, just last week itself, I had a discussion with someone at Blackstone, who's heavily, not just him, the Blackstone company or community itself is very heavily invested in artificial intelligence. And I was talking about one of the rare times that I was proven wrong, but I wanted to share that tidbit with the team over the community over here. Is I said, what's the killer app? Is the world of AI oversold at this point in time, and where is it gone from that perspective? And I was very, uh, you know, very nicely told is I would say that yes, the world of AI is only step three in the journey of 1,000 steps. And I agree with that. But the thing is, what's the killer app? Where is all of this innovation and money going? And there will definitely be a shakeout. There's no question about it. But if you think about where we are focused right now is just in the world of tech. But you take a step back and see you talk about hospitalization, you talk about the world of medical areas and variety of other fields in that regards. AI is not even touching that. AI is not just gone in there from that perspective. So that's just one example. Given we are on a limited time basis, I would not take a whole lot of time, but if anybody's interested, I'm very, very happy to talk about that because that is my world. But also in Northern California, what is happening, and that's not just Northern California, but it's I would say the linchpin, and it's going to happen around the world, is data centers. And the reason I mention AI and data centers together, because AI is a killer app for data centers in itself. And data centers are power hungry, massive power hungry. To give you an idea, uh, just Santa Clara Valley alone in NorCal, about 3 to 5 years ago, had a power generation surplus of about 750 megawatts, give or take. I'm rounding the figures at this point in time. And today, in Santa Clara Valley, we have a deficit of 900 megawatts, and that deficit will continue to grow. And why is that? It is the world of data centers. And why is it in the world of data centers? It's artificial intelligence. So that's like really at the front and center what's happening in Northern California, and that is where I live. That's one of the fields which is very near and dear and very close to my heart. I wouldn't by any means even profess to say that I'm an expert, but I think I know enough to hold my own. And that's where I believe my journey over the next 5, 10 years will take me. And I'm doing a whole lot of things. The other areas is okay. Data centers, energy generation is a problem. But how do we generate energy? It just cannot be clean energy or dirty energy because it doesn't matter what you do in terms of energy generation, but it's transmission and distribution. That's the key. And I use Santa Clara Valley as an example because even if you generate energy somewhere else, it is impossible to transmit and distribute that energy in Santa Clara. Just using that as an example. So, innovation wise, the sources of energy generation that can be at location is one of the key things. And then the world of batteries, which Doug mentioned earlier on. What are the innovations that's happening in the world of energy in that regards? And that all is in Santa Clara Valley in Northern California. Amazing, amazing innovations happening in that regards. And then so that's all good and exciting, and that's been going on. And I do think in 2025, that's just continue to grow and grow. And for the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to be prime focus until it becomes global chambers, for example, from that perspective. So that's energy, that's artificial intelligence. That's a primary area where Northern California is focused. And then the other story is Intel, as many of you know, and Doug, as you and I, you've spent a whole lot of time in Phoenix, and I've spent some time in Phoenix area. What has happened to Intel? Is semiconductor chip manufacturing going to take a step back? It's not. Again, that's linked to artificial intelligence and to energy generation because all the chip manufacturing facilities require a whole lot of energy. It's a whole new paradigm from that perspective. But given that the country is losing, United States is losing some steam with what has happened to Intel. There is a whole lot of other worldly manufacturing is coming in. It's not particularly in NorCal, but given Intel, it becomes a part of NorCal. So Phoenix is hot, not only just in terms of weather, but also in terms of manufacturing. And there is a lot of connection between NorCal and Phoenix, where TSMC particularly is now leading the race. So that's part of Northern California, and TSMC is going to become is already, but it's going to become tremendous. The most amazing company in the world in terms of semiconductor manufacturing. So that's happening in Northern California. Many other areas, but given we are short in time, if any of you are interested in tech, semiconductors, manufacturing, energy, be it generation, be it distribution, or be it storage from that perspective, talk to me. I'm very happy to, advise on what opportunities are available, where it's happening, and what's going on in NorCal or globally, because that's my field from that perspective. But I welcome questions at a later part in the conversation. It's a very exciting time. It has been, and you can see and feel the passion from how I speak or what I do from that perspective. And somebody very wise, I wouldn't name, the person you probably may know or heard of him already, said, energy is the largest industry in the world. The first trillionaire in the world is going to come out of the energy industry. So incentives wise, it's the field to be in. I'll stop there. Pause. Doug, if you have any comments, or team, if you have any comments, be there. But let me, I'll be remiss if I don't say Global Chambers is the place. Global Chambers is what Doug has done with Global Chambers is pretty amazing, pretty amazing. I certainly have benefited from it quite a bit. The people he connects me with and I bring to the Global Chambers are tremendous, tremendous, very driven, very amazing in that regards. And I always lead off the conversation with the fact that let's grow globally with Global Chambers. So thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak, but let's continue the journey, and it's very exciting time.
Thank you, Vinayak. Yeah, I would say with Global Chamber, I try to recreate that feeling I had when I was trying to find your office. And I walked through what had used to be a Volvo service area, and I walked through a manufacturing plant, and then all of your offices are in where the sales area was. It just like blew my mind. Like, what in the world is happening here? That's what we have a lot of work to do with Global Chamber. And next year is our 10th anniversary. So we have a number of things going on, and we'll mention a little bit of that related to Dr. Sanjeev Kagram and his involvement with Global Chamber and how he's kicking us in the butt in a lot of good ways. Two other people in Northern California I'd like to mention and maybe just have a shout out. Both Yvonne Cook in Sacramento and Lainey Denslow have played key roles, continue to play key roles. Lainey was our board chair last year. When I think about a couple of the events that have been amazing in the last year or so, one was the one we did in Los Altos at Altos Bank during the summer, and as we start to be integrated in, as that bank was raising money through Dr. Kagram, they've successfully raised the funds and now they're launching, and it's just really exciting to see something like that come to the front. Lainey, before that, had put together an amazing event that included Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines in downtown San Francisco related to APEC. And Lainey is just amazing. Lainey, what's going on in your world? Anything you'd like to share?
Just how I'm excited today to have this feeling of being part of a small world. I see people like Elizabeth Glenn that I've known for 1,000 years since I was in LA, and Brent's here, and York, and Yvonne, and the professor. It's really wonderful to be part of a community that's all dedicated to doing global work, as you say, as easily across the border as if you were across the street. And Vinayak, who's taken over this year for Northern California. All good in my world. And for those of you who don't know, I do cultural awareness training, and everybody on this call knows what that is. So it's a pleasure to be a part of this group, Doug, and thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, Lainey is the expert for anyone coming into the U.S. about how to deal with those crazy Americans. And she's not only an expert in terms of training, face to face, like I believe she has done with Trade. So Irvin is in the call here. You've worked, I think, helped Malaysian companies coming in.
Yeah, I worked with Brent. I think it was a couple of years ago that we did a program together, and it was terrific. So highly recommend working with Matrade if you have any interest in Malaysia, and Brent is the guy to talk to.
Okay. Brent. So Irvin is in the call, but I remember a Brent being involved. And you probably remember Sadat as well. Sadat was in Los Angeles for Matrade for a number of years. He got stuck in the US during COVID. And then I think Irvin took over on his role. I could be wrong. And he may not be able to correct me or correct us.
Yeah. So the thing is, so for us, we are career diplomats. So our assignment usually 3 to 4 years. Then we're gonna shuffle or go back to Malaysia or to somewhere else. Like Sadat is now in Istanbul. Whereas my colleague Brent Merlady, he's with us since forever. So he's the go-to guy, regardless of who's heading the office. Hopefully Brent will still there to support us here.
Okay. And Brent, what's your last name? Because you sound familiar.
Yes. I met with up to you last week.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier with Sadat, made the original connection with the Global Chamber.
Great.
My last name is Marletti, very Malaysian. Yes. Thank you all for the kind words, Lainey. It's a pleasure working with the people. I recognize a lot of people from last week as well, and look forward to some collaboration here in the near future.
Fantastic. Great.
And
Thank you.
I'm just going to jump in, Doug, and just say one thing. There is no competition between Northern and Southern California. We all work together. We're all one state and we're all one team. So no competition. We're all together.
I wonder how many of us are even native Californians, one way or the other as well. That's true.
Yvonne Cook, being our global advisor in Sacramento, she's holding down the fort for now. You've had a very international year. I think some traveling and bicycling and things like that. Any perspective you'd like to add from Far East?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I was able to meet with Yuka. She's our executive director in Barcelona. So I happened to I had a cycling trip in Barcelona. So it was wonderful to meet her, and she gave me a perspective of Spain, and she has many wonderful contacts there. So I am very excited to be here. I don't want to steal Barry Broom's thunder. Many exciting developments are happening in Sacramento, so he will fill us in on what is happening. So thank you, Doug.
Thank you. I don't think he's here yet, so I'm going to go next to Gabriel Gonzalez of Goseco. I was very kindly invited to speak to his international global executive search group called NX that's based in Brussels. They have, I think, 50 plus countries represented with executive search firms, and Gabriel was the host for this year's global meeting. And so they descended on downtown San Diego, which I've spent a lot of time because my uncle lived there until he passed away. And so it was really a great thrill to be part of that, to meet Gabriel and your beautiful wife in person, and to hear more about the success that you've had over many, many years, including meeting your customer from PACCAR that you've dealt with for like over a decade. And he's such a happy, pleased client of yours. So congratulations on the work that you've done across border. There's nobody better than Gabriel, I've learned, that on dealing with the talent market between the US and Mexico, and he's also branched out beyond, especially through his network at NX. Could you say a few words about the talent market that you're seeing out there, and anything else you'd like to share for the group?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction. Wow, I'm gonna call you to make a sales speech to my client, to my potential clients. That was great. Thank you so much. Very well said. I appreciate that. And again, thank you for being on that event. It was great and very important for us. My name is Gabriel Gonzalez. We are here in San Diego. We're Goseco International Executive Search. And just to make it simple, because sometimes, you know, a lot of people might call us recruiters, headhunters, staffing and this and that. We're actually in a very small space, niche space within the recruitment world, if you want to call it. But we are in the executive search. So what we do really is connect the people that I connect with every day are either, you know, chief executive officers, chief operating officers, mostly VPs or senior VPs of HRs who are in need of talent. And what we do, we specialize in US, Mexico, and Latin America, but and which is why we're here with this California Chamber. But the global part of what we joined the Global Chamber, which has been great, is because, like Doug said, we're part of this network called Enix, and we're in 50 countries. So wherever a company, multinational, Fortune 500, 100, has a need and we can help them in any of these 50 countries, that's what we do. That's where the global network that we have, we can tap into any of these 50 countries and help our client. And so if any of you, of course, have a need within your own companies or know about a need from your client customer that you're helping invest or bringing new business to California or to the US or Mexico, that's, you know, where we can come in and advise and guide you to look for their talent, you know, director, VP level, executive across any industry, manufacturing, retail, financial services, insurance, any industry. So that's a little bit what we do in a nutshell. And well, we're very grateful. Actually, I don't call myself a speaker, but we're very grateful for this space, Doug. I appreciate it because I was excited because it's my first time. We just joined this year, so it's my first time here doing a little bit of a introduction and marketing and whatever, but mostly, I mean, here we are. And so if anybody has a need, you know, could be a candidate, but mostly at your level of this network is we can serve and help one of your clients, you know, who has a need. So that's what we do. Now, we are also part of an association. It's called the Executive Search Association. The ASC, it's a global, it's one of the biggest ones, and that's where Korn Ferry, Heidrick and Struggles, and Russell Reynolds are. We're part of that association, and so we have this quarter global meetings, actually, and so these are executive search owners or CEOs of these firms that talk about trends of where, you know, they see 2025 gearing towards. And some of the things, I don't know how much time do I have, Doug, but some of the things that I wanted to share with you is today, these executives at these executive search firms are saying, because their clients, when we, you know, have surveys, so our clients, these are Fortune 500 type companies, global multinational companies, say that to the key drivers to attract and retain talent today and towards 2025 is work-life balance, compensation and benefits, of course, culture. You know, they say culture is glue. And so that's a very important topic for the CEOs of these companies, and also meaningful work. So those are like the key drivers of how CEOs try to attract and retain talent at their companies globally. It could be different, you know, country to country or state to state in the US. Some of the competencies that these companies are looking for in their, you know, C-suite level are results-oriented people. That's it. I mean, they're looking for evidence, hard evidence of results. Have you done it? What was the impact? Did you do it yourself? You know, those type of questions. Emotional intelligence definitely is something that is number two important competency that globally the clients are telling us. And also customer centric, definitely. You got to be with your customer. You got to be doing the relationship, building the relationship. That is super important. And technology wise, I agree with Binayak. Definitely, cybersecurity is a high priority for companies today. Data analytics is a high priority for companies today across the board globally. And third, more of a risk is AI, of the many things that Binayak just mentioned. But I would say the good news overall, it's optimistic. We see industry growing. This industry, we're talking about a $20 billion industry globally and has been growing steadily at double digits. So what we're looking for in growth for this 2025 versus 2024 is a 10% growth across the board. So you're looking at probably $21 billion. So things are looking promising. There's a lack of talent, if you couldn't believe it, but sometimes we really struggle for talent because there's a low unemployment rate, of course, across in the US mostly. So those are the little tips. And so optimism is the word, talent, culture, and culture is the glue. And so those are a little bit of the short data, takeaways that I wanted to share with everybody. But across the board, we look for 2025 with very optimistic eyes.
Fantastic. Any questions for Mikhail? I'm already skipping to
I could be Mikhail, Gabriel, whatever.
the next
Sorry about it.
speaker. Sorry, Gabriel. Any questions for Gabriel?
Yeah, Gabriel, hi, my name's Rich Wolverton. I'm in the food business, and I've got a couple of friends that are high performers and looking for better positions in the food world. Is that a part of what you cover?
Yes, of course. They're the part of the candidate source. Yes, I mean they could definitely send us their resume. We'll either have them in our radar for something that we might have, or we can definitely connect them if they want to go abroad, or maybe with another partner that is in the East Coast that works in their space or their specific industry. So definitely, yes, it's welcome.
Okay, if you could put your email in the chat, that'd be great.
Yes,
I'll let them know.
It's right there. That's my signature.
Right.
That's the address, the email, telephone number. So yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sure, of course.
I think we're gonna instead of running out of time, I would like to try to keep this to an hour. And I know Barry has some content, so I'd like to save him for a moment, but just get to a couple people. Mikhail, we're not going to have full time to do your presentation, and so I would suggest we do a separate conversation in January. But could you introduce yourself and just give us a couple minutes on the projects that you're working on, especially since this chapter has had such an energy focus? I thought it would be important, given that, and also Southern California and the Japanese influence and the amount of hydrogen projects that they have been promoting over the last 5 to 10 years. Could you just introduce yourself as a Thunderbird graduate? Congratulations, graduated last year at this time, and now you're working on energy projects. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon and good evening for some of us. So my name is Michael Zicaldo, and I graduated at Thunderbird a year ago, and I joined IDOM. I will talk about my work here at IDOM, not my personal business that we already had some time to discuss about it. So I know that I have to keep it short. I have some slides. Would you like me to present later, or just like a brief introduction?
Yeah, I think let's just do an introduction today and save the slides for a January conversation. And Vinayak and I and you will put together an energy program.
Sure, absolutely. So IDOM is an international engineering and consulting firm. We're working in 2 major projects here in the US, trying to produce, for example, 30 tons per day. The challenge that we have, it's about the off-takers and the hydrogen production. So what is first, the chicken or the egg? So we work with our developers, with our partners, trying to execute the projects from permitting to the design to the execution, following them through all the engineering phases. And something that caught my attention that Binayak was mentioning was about the energy that the data centers are requiring to produce this clean gas that is hydrogen on an efficient way and to be like with not a lot of big footprint. It's what we call the green hydrogen with electrolyzers. They're competing for that electricity. So there's a lot going on. There are a lot of policies. The changes in the government definitely doesn't help to get the policies move faster. But I think what we see in IDOM, it's that the hydrogen economy will move forward, maybe slower than it was expected, but definitely it has a goal and it's moving. It's moving.
I'm really glad to hear this because this is Vinayak again. We definitely will connect offline given the shortage of time at this point in time. Hydrogen is key and data centers and everything, energy generation at source. But let's talk offline.
Yes, I have a presentation. I will keep it for next time then, Doug.
Let's pull that together. I also, Sanjeev Kagram will come together in another program that will kick off for the Altos Bank in January. And so there's a number of things that he would like to share. Before Barry comes on, I'd just like to open the floor for a few minutes. There are a few other people I want to make sure that everybody knows, and then just please feel free to just jump in for the next few minutes. Gunjan Bagla is our India expert. He's on the Global Chamber Advisory Board for Southern California. He has been instrumental in helping Garcetti become the Indian ambassador. Hopefully that continues to move forward. Gunjan, is there anything that you'd like to share quickly? We just got a quick roundtable before Barry comes on.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm driving right now, so it's, I can't tell whether you can hear me.
It sounds beautiful. We don't even hear your car. It must be an electric car.
Yeah. I help people to do business in India, and 2025 is going to be a big year for that. Not for anything India has accomplished, but what our incoming president plans to do with very high tariffs, probably on China. So Indian companies are gearing up to pick up the slack. And most people in the US don't understand India as well as they do understand China. So if you have clients who are looking, hey, what do I do with India? We have feet on the street or boots on the ground, as you might say, to help people source from India. We've been doing it for 20 years, from ingredients, materials, complete systems, whatever it is, talent, software, whatever it is that your clients may need, we can find a way to make it happen with our India-based team. We also help people enter the market in India. Thanks for letting me have a word.
Thank you for your leadership. Another leader that we have that everyone should know is Anita Rodal. She runs our monthly export-import forum. The interviews you've done the last couple months have been really phenomenal. Thank you, Anita. You're also an expert on foreign currency. You help people connect up around the world and get their act together. So thank you for all of that. You help us keep our act to get reasonably clean as well. Anything that you'd like to share, Anita?
No, I just want to say happy holidays to everyone. For anybody who's doing business domestically, I also do broker SBA loans, equipment finance, and financing for people who are importing for their inventory. But Global Chamber has been amazing. I love it. It ticks all the boxes. I've met amazing people. It's so nice to see Yvonne and some other people here that haven't talked to in a while, but like one big happy family. So thanks.
Thank you. Mark Cohen is one of those very special leaders that has been instrumental in companies, particularly from the US, be successful in China. He then subsequently sold that business, and he didn't kick back and just enjoy the fruits of all of that hard and good work, but he's now helping others be more successful and finding funding and finding ways to be more successful on the global stage. He's on our advisory board in Phoenix. Mark, thank you for all that you do, including fighting anti-Semitism. Anything that you'd like to share before Barry takes the stage?
Thanks again, Doug. I'm in the car. Wouldn't want to miss the call. Grateful for the introduction. Hello, everybody, and I'm so grateful to be on the call. The Global Chamber is the way to go to connect to the world. I've been blessed, like Doug was mentioning. I'm all about humanity. I'm all about connecting. I'm involved with the Project Max, which is involved with anti-Semitism, racism, and intolerance with sports through globally through Israel, but mainly benefiting by what we need to do today for mankind. I'm involved very much so in the connection of nonprofit and nonprofit that we can merge together with other nonprofits. This is where the AI should be coming into. Benjeev said something very interesting on the call in the beginning. I was listening to it. It is that intersection of AI that's just getting started, from the healthcare side, from building out communities, from most important that we need to do more than anything else today is the awareness of what AI can do for the hospitals. And also, I'm grateful for women today. I empower women today. I have been married for 43 years. I have a beautiful wife. We have 3 grandchildren, 2 boys. But most important, we have to empower women all over the world. And it's about what they eat, and it's about what the nutrition values are for the world today and what their children are eating and society. So that's a little bit of what I'm about, Doug. I can go on, but most important, happy holidays to everybody. You are, Doug, the pinnacle of this organization. I'm grateful to be here and how we can build it out globally.
Thank you. The last person I'd like to check in with, and then Barry, is Phil, if you're available. Phil is not, he came to Global Chamber a couple of years ago as I thought just merchant services, but I think I've subsequently learned that he's quite the Renaissance fellow on the global stage and is involved in a lot of different things. Phil, can you just say hi just so that everybody is connected to you?
Yeah, Doug, I'll keep it quick. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm in Hermosa Beach, Southern California, so hope to see some of you guys soon on the next calls going forward.
You're amazing. So more than merchant services, what are some of the quick things that you're involved with?
Yeah, just besides, I mean, credit card processing is obviously my main thing, but I do a lot of consulting for the high-speed train companies in Europe, especially with companies trying to get their ESG rating up and using sustainability for traveling in Europe. Trains are kind of an excellent way to do that. So I work with a lot of TMCs in the travel management side, big Fortune 500 companies, and basically putting their employees on trains rather than planes. So my other thing besides credit card processing is European high-speed train. The network over in Europe.
Thank you for your leadership. Barry Broom is amazing. I've had the very good fortune as I was coming up with the idea for Global Chamber to interact with Barry. He transformed the Greater Phoenix Economic Council into a very powerful and successful economic development engine. When he started, and certainly in the days I was kind of like thinking there should be some sort of a global chamber, he was kicking butt in Arizona that we needed there to be more global and more successful. At the time, our first speaker ever, before actually it was called Global Chamber, it was called Arizona International Growth Group. Fortunately, we came up with a better name. But our very first speaker was a guy named Rod Miller, who worked for GPEC. And at the time, as I understand it, GPEC had 10% of one person, Rod Miller, working on international. I'm on the International Leadership Council for GPEC now, and I think I heard there's like 4 full-time people working on international now. And that's just a span of about 10 years. So they've transformed largely because Barry was kicking butt and got them working in the right direction. And of course, semiconductor helped a lot too. Now he's doing that in Northern California and in California. I've heard Barry speak, not just at Global Chamber, but outside. He, more than anyone, is able to eloquently explain why California is an amazing place for companies to land and to connect up with the world. And the work that he's done in Sacramento and in Northern California is just as good or better than what he did in Phoenix. Barry, thank you for your leadership, for your ability to make change happen, and for actually business to occur. What would you like to share about what's going on, both good and bad, or anything we can do to help?
Yeah, so I don't think we need to put our pitch deck up. This is, I wasn't sure what the structure was, so we'll save you guys slides. We'll spare you slides. Everyone can be spared slides at any point in time.
We're all believers.
This is my holiday gift to each and every one of you. I will not walk you through a pitch deck. Yeah, so if you're a Californian, then and you've been in California, then Sacramento is the fourth son out of seven that nobody likes. We didn't make the football team, and we're not particularly good at school or instruments. And so, when all your big brothers are San Francisco and Palo Alto and LA and San Diego, and, it's hard to get recognized. So I came here in 2015. I have a rule no longer than 10 years. So I was in Phoenix from 2005 to 2015. And we really resurrected Phoenix around the global economy by really changing the behavior of Phoenix, right? Obviously, we were lucky to have an outlier like Michael Crow, probably the most dynamic president in the United States of America of any university. And I'm going after him for the UCOP job. So the University of California system job is opening up, and they may be ready for a Michael Crow, because those of us that are in California know the good ship Lollipop has kind of seen its better days. We're not throwing gold coins in the air nonstop. I always joked, in California, we took off in 1849, and it's only been 5 years that we haven't been operating like a gold rush. So things in California have dramatically changed with sustainability problems in the cities. And, if you're around LA or San Francisco or Oakland, I don't have to tell you what's happened down there. And the goal when I came to Sacramento, we were probably the worst economy in the United States of America. We had the lowest higher education capture rate in the United States of America. We were the second worst place in the United States for a young person to find a job. We were heavily dependent upon government. We had the 2008 crash. So the kind of consumption-based lift you get from spending, which is housing, and then the spends on housing starts, had gone to the bottom. And, it's also, California is an interesting place from a standpoint that, just wasn't a lot of confidence in people in Sacramento that they could be dramatically different. They sort of bought the Bay Area, conversation on Sacramento, the LA conversation on Sacramento. And Doug knows, I'm an Irish Catholic blue collar guy from Cleveland. So, I was born with a chip on my shoulder, you know what I mean? If you don't slight me, I'll find something you say to slight me. So it was a perfect job for me to come in, resurrect an organization from scratch, being convinced every day everybody was slighting Sacramento in our pursuit of where we are. So I have 52 CEOs on my board. In order to be a private sector leader, you have to be a CEO. If you're from a significant employer, it's a $500,000 commitment. If you're from a smaller employer, it's a $250,000 commitment. That's not annual, that's over 5 years. So I've raised about $57 million in $50,000 and $100,000 checks for the organization. And then the public sits on the other side and they collectively put in $1 million. And then that way you have a little public buy-in, but the public tail's not wagging the dog, right? So the mayor of Sacramento is 4% of my revenue. And I have a big reserve. I have about a $10 million reserve, and if the mayor of Sacramento is unhappy, then the mayor of Sacramento can stay home and we'll keep doing what we're doing. So it's really important. I think this is the model for California, the board is independent of the government's success. And it allows them to operate more independently than falling in the politics of California, right? So, as California is a tale of two cities. Great place to build a company, great place to design. So, but basically, what we did, we were in the 70s and 80s. This is a Brookings Monitor data group about 6 months ago. Believe it or not, Brookings Monitor. So we use the Brookings Institute for data. It's peer reviewed, it's third party, and sometimes Democrats listen to them. So, we're always talking to the Democrats when we're talking to Brookings. So So this last round, Greater Sacramento is the highest performing U.S. economy out of 54 U.S. markets.
Wow.
We're number 7 in jobs. We were 4. So we're now ranking in the top 7 in jobs, but we have really high equity and inclusion data points, right? So we're like the 7th highest inclusion market, 3rd highest regional inclusion, and we're 15th in growth. So we're not, cranking out, Dallas jobs, but the balance, as you've learned from watching Black Lives Matter and January 6th, we need to start to measure this economy differently, right? The money just can't go to the top. It can't just be about fees and equity. If we don't rebuild the middle class and create some stability in these communities, we're going to continue to have, chaos in the political leadership, right? So we have extreme populism in both parties, Democrats, democratic socialism. The party of Reagan is now the party of Trump. Neither one is really particularly helpful or thoughtful. Neither one's really solving any problems. And so the goal behind an organization like the Greater Sacramento Economic Council is, we're the institution that looks after and drives change. The chairman of the board is Gary May, the chancellor of UC Davis, president of Sac State's on the board. All the university presidents are on the board. All the mayors are on the board, and the top 50 CEOs are on the board. We spend about 1/3 of our money on data and evidence. We spend about 1/3 of our money on brand and reputation. And then we spend 1/3 of our money on investments. And, that's startups. We do work in startups. We do a lot of international work. And we do direct business recruitment. And then we try to keep companies here. But what we really do is we act as consultants. So Rancho Cordova, I took them to SK Hynix and sold. They put $140 million in cash on the table to SK Hynix. So that's what's going on in Sacramento. So I can put cash in a deal. I can get you permits in 90 days. We've worked through all the CEQA interference models. And so we kind of grew the town out for growth with a lot of intentional pre-planning. UC Davis has put $1.4 billion in the middle of Sacramento. That's where their life science research is now. So we took the research from Davis to Sacramento because all the research in Davis was going to San Francisco, right? Which is where our kids were going, and it's where our startups were going. So the natural excitement of Silicon Valley was just pulling the economy out from under Sacramento. So we literally had to reverse engineer the entire university output to be built towards the urban core, and then obviously build an economy around the universities, and then build an economy around young people. So we're pretty close to the dominant semiconductor R&D center in the United States now. You saw where Bosch just got a CHIPS Act award. So this is home to Bosch. This is home to Solidigm, which is the memory technology that spun out of SK Hynix, and it's home to Intel. So we got 3 major global R&D centers here. Bosch will produce 50% of all the silicon carbide chips in the United States here from Roseville, California. So we've become a big player in semiconductor. We're making a big move in batteries. So we're trying to play off of the climate change objectives in California. So we monetize and commercialize California regulations, right? We spend most of our space in pre-development, pre-revenue space, right? So I always say Greater Sacramento is a product development company. That's what we do. We develop products. Once something gets worked out and it goes downstream and it becomes a commodity, it migrates to Texas and Utah just like every other place. But and you guys all understand this because you're successful people, but if you can design and build products that are contemporary new, California is an early adopter on absorbing those products. And then our engineers and our student entrepreneurs are early adopters on the uptake. You got a big international presence and a pro-immigration market. I always like to say you don't have to look like me to be comfortable in California. And a lot of these other states that we're competing with, they're playing mostly on the cost side. They're doing very well at it. But at some point, you have to be able to create value for the companies. So we've got 11 battery deals in the market. So all the battery disruption. One of our companies, LeeCap, just entered into a 15-year license agreement with Porsche. Pretty good. So they were like 15 employees. They went to 40. Well, they're going to scale now, and they'll do their first 400 manufacturing jobs in Sacramento. And then as they scale, they'll go to South Carolina and Georgia and get the big tax breaks and so on and so forth. So how can we aggregate and dominate this climate change play and commercialize it? Grid technology, batteries, zero emission vehicles. Bosch is a silicon carbide chip. It's the primary chip in storage technology, charging stations, and zero emission vehicles. So we own that space now, right? Solidigm's going to do memory. It's the alternative side to NVIDIA. And they're going to go public in the next 12 to 18 months. And they'll be a $10 or $20 billion company that'll be headquartered here, publicly traded out of South Korea. Samsung's here, Qualcomm's here, Micron's here now. And so I'm meeting with UC Davis Thursday on rolling out a big quantum computing play. So, how do we get in early? How do we take risks? California is very good at product development. California is very good at de-risking company launches. We now have this thing we're developing called the Intellerator. We're trying to get all the Intel people out of Folsom into startups because we think Intel is the next Ford Motor Company. I don't know. They may come back, but we don't think they will. But yet at the same time, we're here with Qualcomm, Micron, ADM, and Samsung just made a presence here. So Samsung's planning to go to 1,000. Micron will go to 1,000. Solidigm and Bosch will build out the 3,000 to 4,000. So we're 26 more times innovative in the semiconductor space than the average U.S. market. So it's hedgehog stuff, right? We're not out there. We're not getting Fortune 500 headquarters. They're avoiding capital gains tax and California regulations. But we've gotten really good at building this bench of high-valued emerging companies. And we have quite a few companies that we've brought here. Gren, market cap value $1 billion. Blaze, is closing on a SPAC, $836 million. And all these chips are interfacing with AI. And so I don't, like anybody who does this for a living, I'm an inch deep and a mile wide. So, I do life sciences, agri-science, but it looks like the semiconductor space and this battery technology, we're going to dominate. UC Davis is now becoming a major commercial player in the sciences. And then we're doing things to work on our brand. We're going after Major League Baseball. I got the Athletics for 4 years. Can I land an MLB? So, the pounding ground on the enterprise model, how do you elevate your universities? And then you need some unique outcomes that will change your reputation so that people don't think of Sacramento as, the guys from California that didn't make it to Silicon Valley or didn't make it to San Diego or didn't make it to San Francisco. And now our economic future, the next 10 years, we will literally crush California. Our 10-year trajectory is dramatically better than the United States, dramatically better than California. And some of that is because, our data says San Francisco, Oakland, and LA is steeped in problems they're not going to recover from very soon. And then, of course, the longer we keep electing people into the state government that keep using Jerry Brown's pitch from, 2009, the more trouble we're going to get into. So we have a little interface with Newsom, not much. We're not huge fans with these guys. We're kind of setting the tone next for the next governor that brings somebody in here that's going to get hard-nosed about California's problems, start to mitigate the liability in the marketplace, start to mitigate some of these labor laws, reform CEQA, and start, pushing a more pro-business climate agenda. We have two other big advantages here. I have two public utilities, so I don't have to build an economy around PG&E. So SMUD, which is my largest utility, is about 66% of the market, is a public utility. And we can give you a 100% emissions-free footprint for about 1/3 the price of PG&E. So we're delivering clean power, right? We're meeting ESG objectives. That power is pretty competitive. We think coal is going to end up coming up a lot more. As they upgrade coal power plants, you're going to have to digest and amortize those debts. So if coal power plants were held, you can tell, Doug, I've been in California now, if coal power plants were held accountable to the current coal power plant standards, they're below US EPA standards, you would literally have to put $1 trillion of capital into the coal industry just to bring it up to the current regs. You don't have to do anything extraordinary on a climate change policy. So we think we're going to be ahead of the curve in the next 5 years with two of our utilities, about 75% of the market being 100% emissions free. And we think PG&E might be 75% free, but our rates are still, in the 10, 11, 12 cents range. So, right now we're in the process of building up our engineering schools and putting our head down and trying to tell a better story. So I got a team of about 18 people. It's a little bit small, not quite what I had in Phoenix, but we've been rated the #3 organization by the International Economic Development Council 3 years in a row. So we're not one like Phoenix, but we are 3. And Camacho knows I'm going to pass him. It's just a matter of time.
Amazing. What questions does anybody have for Barry? Because there's a lot there to unpack.
No questions from me, but kudos on what you've done for Sacramento, and California growing. There's no question about it, and there's a lot that we can unpack together at some point in time. Would love to connect with you and figure out a way to grow this. Congratulations, and incredible story.
Yeah, thank you.
Barry, are you wedded to Sacramento, or are you open to moving to LA to lead Global LA or some other organization to take the next step?
I've become friends with Viragosa, who's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. I don't know if any of you know the former mayor of LA is running for governor. He's like one of my favorite guys on earth, because he's like a human pitch machine, you know what I mean? I mean, every time you meet him, you think he's like 3 seconds from walking on stage and addressing 10,000 people, But he and I talk, he thinks Bass can turn LA around. I think San Francisco and Oakland may actually emulate what we're doing. So, we're right now, I'm waiting to see if Sac State gets in the Pac-12. So those are the kind of things we're doing. UC Davis got into the Mountain West. So our 2 universities are in Division I sports, and I'll make a long-term play for Major League Baseball in 2028. But, the one thing we got going for us in California now is unbelievable institutional grit and capacity, levels of ingenuity that are mind-boggling. I mean, there's just no one smarter than California. The people in California are so smart, it's unbelievable. But we got to quit pretending these problems are going to go away on their own. I'm most specifically talking about homelessness. And, we can't let the government off the hook for letting LA, San Francisco, Oakland, and eventually Sacramento sit in these big unhoused beds. We gotta get very serious about leadership on that. I think if we can manage some of the litigation in the market, reduce some liability, get our homeless problem under control, California's going to come back. The advantage of being a coastal state and having perfect weather, and our university systems are phenomenal. Airports, seaports. So, all the infrastructure is there for us to come back, but we're going to need some leadership out of the next governor that's going to be a little better than what Gavin gave us, which was a lot of populism and not a lot of muscle on these issues.
Jeff Darr, are you still there? Do you have any comments or questions? Possibly not. Does anybody else have any questions before we close the room?
Well, thanks for having me. And I'm, if you're interested in investing in Sacramento or in California, or if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know.
Yeah, I'll circle back with you, Barry, on the Semiconductor Summit that we're doing in February. It's the 4th annual Global Chamber Semiconductor Summit, and it's been mostly Japan. Then now we have 10 countries involved, and it's been largely Arizona-centric, but you sparked my interest. I just read Chip Wars, which I'm sure you read way before me, and it blew my mind, and especially around Intel and the kind of the ups and downs of the industry over the last 30, 40 years and how global interdependent things are. It's an amazing story, and maybe not ending well for Intel, to your point.
Yeah, but that industry right now is about $650 billion. It's going to go to $4 trillion in 15 years.
Amazing.
And that's why I'm like, you got to make bets. we're going to bet on the R&D side on the memory side, and then we're going to make big bets on battery, and then just try to do a better job at delivering the back end of services to startups and capital. Our ability to access capital in California, as you know, is phenomenally better than other states. So we're optimistic about Sacramento. We just need a governor that's going to sit in the job and not run for president the first week they're in the job, but actually roll their sleeves up and fight for California.
There's a lot to fight for.
There is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Barry. You're amazing. Thanks, everybody. Does anybody have any last words before we close? Because sorry, we went a little bit over. Hopefully you got a sense from Barry that California has a lot to give. It is giving a lot, and especially those numbers he's giving on the semiconductor industry further, to me, reinforce where California will be over the next decades if it's done properly. And so thank you all for being supporters and collaborators for Global Chamber. This is our last California meeting, I think, of the year, although we have a number of others that will kind of carry us through the beginning of next year. One of the ones I think that are, if you're interested in such things, Igor Novikov next Thursday is speaking about Ukraine. He is a President Zelensky advisor. He's met Giuliani and others and has been through all of that pre-war, and then through the war, he's still in Kiev, and he's an amazing guy, and hopefully we're going to learn what his views are the future. He's obviously had to make some shifts in terms of what he's thinking might happen, and so I'm very anxious to hear what he's thinking now. That's certainly one thing to think about. We'll have an energy program with Vinayak and Mikhail and others talking about energy in January, and then we'll have Sanjeev after our Global Council meeting on January 8th. We'll making some announcements of that Global Advisory Board for Global Chamber that he is leading with one other person, and then a couple dozen people as part of that board. We'll have more announcements of that coming up. And then we always start the year, and Lainey had to drop off, but we always start the year, at least the last several years, on a global mindset conversation. And that's happening on January 8th with 3 experts. I think one is Yuka, who came up earlier, and one is always Renee Meyer in Strasbourg. And then this year is we have one other person whose name is escaping me, unfortunately. I think I need a little bit of Coke of the beverage variety. But we have 3 speakers that will be talking about cross-cultural and global mindset and the value, because global business has never been better. It's going to hit $34 trillion this year, up $1 trillion from last year, another record. I think someone earlier said that next year will be even better. I don't know. I'm not a predictor of the future, but I think it will be. It feels like it will be. And so we're all in the right spot to stay global and unstoppable. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the inspiration to keep us going and to get inspired to be better and better. And I think next year clearly will be our best year, will be our year that we will reach, hopefully, as Sanjeev has inspired me to be, global and unstoppable, but also adding more and more value for members. Thanks, everybody. And we'll leave the room open for another few minutes so that you can, if you have any needs or anything that you'd like to say, please go ahead. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day and a great holiday if we see you or not. Thanks. Oh, Leslie left. Bye, Leslie. And thank you, Vinayak, for talking. And Jeff, if you're still there, thanks for all your, oh, you are still there. Thank you. Did you hear the end of Barry Broom by any chance?
I did not. I had a client call and dealing with China, actually, but took longer than I thought. So sorry about that. That's why you saw my face and I was muted.
No worries. It was interesting. What do you think, Anita? What did you think of his comments?
I think with the whole concept of what he's doing is first time I've heard of it, and it makes sense to me. And I love that it's emanating from Sacramento, because I think that the capital of the state should, take a leadership role in things. So we shall see. There was a lot there. That was a lot to listen to.
A lot to package, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know this fellow who's going to be running for governor?
Villaraigosa, yeah, he was mayor of Los Angeles. I know his wife actually.
Okay.
Patricia. And I like Villaraigosa. He had his share of, everybody has their share of stuff that comes up. But I do like him. There's so many people though that have been, like Betty Yee has been putting in her, 2 cents for the governorship, and it's not for another 2 years. And she started in the middle of the election season, like a year and a half ago. Now I'm starting to understand why, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. Villaraigosa was pretty popular back in the day,
yeah. So I did hear the tail end of some of this while I was on a phone call, but so Antonio Villaraigosa was mayor of Los Angeles, Doug, from 2005 to 2013, then succeeded by Eric Garcetti. Mayor Hahn, who he ran against the first time for an open seat, was 2001, 2005. Antonio Villaraigosa ran for governor once before. Didn't do terrible, but didn't do that well. He ran against Newsom in the primary. But as Anita alluded to, there's a whole slew of people actively running for, we're talking about 2028. I'm sorry, 2026. So we're 2 years from now. So, and that's also the one that there's, the possibility that Kamala Harris may run. But Betty Yee, our former state controller, is actively running. I got an email from her just a moment ago, I think. Our lieutenant governor, who's a former U.S. ambassador to Hungary, is also running. And she's the one who sort of does Newsom, our current governor's international focus. So that's a candidate with an international sort of, bent to her. Antonio Villaraigosa is running. He hasn't been in public office for a little while, like 11 years, but he's also more moderate, maybe would be a way to describe. I'm a political junkie, so I can tell you about all of these candidates very well. It's a very hard to say field, and a lot of people may yet run, and we haven't even mentioned all the ones who are actively running. Our state board of education, Tony's running, and he's been running for a while, probably harder road for him. And so it's a very crowded field. It's a very interesting field because so many candidates, who's politically where, and who's possibly based on age and gender. A lot of little weird factors could play into like how the vote may get split if there's so many on the ballot. And if Kamala Harris runs, she may preempt a lot of things if she's viewed to be a critical candidate and raises a bunch of money.
Got it. Wow.
So a lot of stuff, but it's not for 2 years. I mean, literally 2 years is when the general election is. So this is, and people have been running, as Anita mentioned, for more than a year now. So that's California politics.
Well, global business feels a lot simpler.
Sometimes I always thought that Betty Yee was running because Gavin was going to throw his hat in the ring if Biden had stepped out earlier, and so that's why I thought that she was just kind of getting ready for that, and then it didn't happen that way. Maybe that's what her original thought was. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, thanks everybody. I know we went a little bit over, and sorry about that, and hopefully see you certainly in the new year. And then over the next few weeks, I forgot there were one other thing I should mention is that at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, we'll have a number of different activities. And so if anybody is headed up there, please let me know, and we'll get you connected into some of the events that we're doing. We're doing one on the 7th, and we're doing one on the 8th, and then there's one on the 10th, I believe, as well. But I'll be there on the 7th and 8th.
What are we doing? Just
we're doing a meetup on the 8th, and then we're doing an event with the Korean government on the 7th. And I guess we have Kubota as one of our members, and they're going to be part of that. Mayor Gallego from Phoenix has been invited, and she said yes to that. So it's mainly a U.S. Korea thing with a lot of different companies, 35 companies involved. So that, yeah, you may know Korea has always, at least the last number of years, been very involved with CES, and this year it's going to be bigger and better than ever. So
sure. There's also the fancy food show coming up for people who have clients in that space.
In San Francisco?
Also, I think in Las Vegas.
That is in San Francisco, right? Or
I think it's Las Vegas this year. I have a client, but I'm not planning on going at the moment, but I have clients who are.
Okay.
So, I'm just making note of, things that we could have.
For those of you in LA, there is something that Sanjeev has introduced me to that's on the 20th of January, which is called Digital Davos. And so I don't know, and Jeff was asking me the other day, I don't know enough about it. I was hoping Sanjeev would be here and be able to talk to it, but he couldn't make it. So we'll have to catch up with him, but I'll learn more about that over the next week, I would imagine, and I'll let you guys know about what that is. But he and I are speaking at it. I think it's in Beverly Hills. And as soon as I learn more, I'll pass the word out. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
well done.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Ciao.
Ciao.